You carefully walk through the long abandoned Vault 15. As you look around the vault in its state of disrepair, you wonder why the vault was left in this state. Hello and welcome to Anatomy of Fiction. Today we are going to discuss the story of Vault 15 and its legacy. To begin, we are going to go over the experiment of Vault 15. So what was the experiment in Vault 15? Vault 15 was supposed to be a test of how people from diverse backgrounds could get along over a period of 50 years. But would they last 50 years? To know that, we are going to have to go through the timeline. We begin in August of 2063. This is when the construction of Vault 15 would be completed. This vault was built by Vault-Tec, which was enlisted by the government in case of anything happened, like nuclear war. With this, there would be the recruitment of future vault dwellers. People saw this as crying wolf or being overly cautious. Now we move to the 23rd of October 2077, with the air raid sirens signalling the end of life as they knew it. You'd think people would rush to be part of their local vault. Surprisingly, no. Most saw it again as crying wolf. So many ignored these warnings, viewing them as false alarms, with only the cautious subset of the population travelling to the shelters. This is when the bombs fell, leaving many dead, displaced, and injured. This is obviously when Vault 15 was sealed. This vault was supposed to be sealed for 50 years. The vaults were supposed to have contact with one another. However, Vault 15 lost contact with the others as soon as it was sealed off. This would not be the only problem with Vault 15, however. With the vault not having proper population control implemented, by 2097, the vault would become overcrowded and the living conditions would deteriorate. Because of this, there was much conflict inside of the vault. This would lead to a schism, causing the vault to open in spring 2097. This vault only lasted 20 years, rather than 50 years. The inhabitants of the vault would split into 4 different factions. These are Shady Sands, the Khans, the Jackals, and the Vipers. Yes, the Raider tribes do come from Vault 15. The Vipers are known as the Vipers due to the snakes that they have incorporated into their practices, carrying with them a basket of snakes wherever they travel. However, we never actually see the Vipers as a faction, as they did not make it out of the concept phase. This is also true for the Jackals. The Jackals are a scavenging group of raiders, which were said to be the least developed out of the 3 groups, relying on group power to overwhelm those they ambushed. They refused to attack anyone they thought they wouldn't be able to overpower. The Khans get their name from Genghis Khan, a ruthless Mongol leader from the past. This is due to their preference for strength and their willingness to get rid of any weaklings, or perceived weaklings. Originally, these groups did work as one until disagreements over values caused them to split into their own clans, with the Khans being the only ones we actually see in the first and second Fallout games. If you want a video explaining more about the Raider gangs or the New California Republic, let me know in the comments. The founders of Shady Sands took the Vault's Garden of Eden creation kit, or GEC, leaving the Raider tribes to fend for themselves. Some people stayed behind in the vault, continuing the experiment until it was eventually attacked and abandoned. After this abandonment, the vault fell into disrepair, with the walls of the 2nd and 3rd levels eventually collapsing due to earthquakes and tremors, which we see when we visit the vault in the first game. When you first visit this vault, it is filled with various rat species. This is in the later part of 2161, whilst on your search for the water chip. Vault 15 in the first game is 9 squares east of Vault 13, making it the closest neighbouring vault. This is different to the second Fallout game, where it is only 6 squares east of Vault 13. The entrance is also a little different. Throughout this time, there were varied attempts at trying to reclaim the vault and its technology. Vault 15, however, was completely abandoned by the New Californian Republic in the year 2189 due to the amount of work needed to rescue the vault from its dire state. The arguments between the Republic and the independent salvage teams about the excavation rights, and the added pressure of the conflicts between other groups and the Republic about Vault 15 also aided in the abandonment of their project. These other groups were often the raiders that had also originated from this vault, people who worshipped the vault, and various groups of ghoul scavengers. Because of all this, Vault 15 had become a spot of contention due to these arguments over ownership of the vault and the remnants of the technology left inside. With the lack of attention paid by the NCR to the vault, it would lead to 2 groups swooping in to claim the area. These being the inhabitants of the Squat, which is a slum built in the pre-entry of the vault. Most of these people were not really welcome in any city due to a lack of skills and resources. However, they were welcomed and somewhat looked after by the new Khans, who were adamant on reclaiming the Vault 15 site for themselves. The new Khans were a group of raiders, again originating from Vault 15. They were in part welcoming of the members of the squat, feeding them and providing them clean water. These essential supplies were claimed to be from the Vault's resources. However, after exploring the Vault, you will find the insides a little lackluster. Instead, these resources actually come from attacking the caravans that supply the other communities in the surrounding areas. They looked after the members of the squat as it provided a cover for them, hiding them from the NCR's snooping. The Khans also had their own professional snooper in the NCR, allowing them to keep an eye on the NCR's activity. Anyway, as the Chosen One, you arrive in the year 2242. With this, when you enter the pre-entry area of Vault 15, there is a complete difference from the previous game. This is obviously the Squat, which is the tent city. These are the people that do not really fit anywhere else in the societies of Fallout, with no real skills or education to get work in places like the NCR, New Reno, or the farming communities around. As I mentioned, this is a front for the new Khans, who clean up the vault and are using it as somewhat of a base. When you explore the vault, you see it looks slightly different from the first game, and it has been mostly scrapped of any useful resources. Now that we have explored the timeline, we should go through some of the important characters that are either members of Vault 15 or descended from Vault 15 members. So who are some of the well-known characters that come from Vault 15? Characters who were members or descended from members of Vault 15 can be broken down into several groups: Raiders, Shady Sands citizens, members of the squat, and those who remained. Starting with one of the original remaining members, before the attacks that caused them to flee, in the first game we have Katrina. We find her in Shady Sands, so I guess you could also call her a Shady Sands citizen. She gives us a little explanation of what it was like growing up in Vault 15. Unfortunately, we were crowded and life was very bad. There was a schism, and many people left, taking with them the best equipment. Still, some of us tried to stay in the vault, but then we were attacked. I was hurt and I ended up here. With Katrina's comments, it indicates there were some who still believed in the vault and the experiment, so they desired to stay until it became too dangerous. In the same town we have Aradesh, one of the more important residents of the town of Shady Sands. Based on his accent and his appearance, he is likely to be one of the descendants from Vault 15, and it is likely that his grandparents were some of the founding members. Another descendant of the Vault Dwellers from Vault 15 is Jarl Deathhand. Who is he? Well, he is the leader of the Khans in Fallout 1. The Khans were one of the groups that split off from the original Dwellers in the Schism of 2097. So Jarl Deathhand is the son of the original leader of the Khans who left the Vault. He is an incredibly violent character who continues the raids against Shady Sands, and of course kidnaps Tandy, who is a very important character in the second Fallout game. In the canon version of the game, you will essentially remove the Khans as a gang. Moving into the second Fallout game, we have several members of the Squat. They do not descend from the original Vault members. However, due to the abandonment of the Vault, they occupy the entry cavern. Technically, you could debate on whether this is occupying the Vault. However, due to proximity and based on various content pages like the Fallout Wiki, they were considered to be people who have occupied Vault 15. Some of the more important members of the squad are Rebecca and Chrissy. Rebecca is the mother of Chrissy, who enlists you to assist in finding and rescuing her daughter who has gone missing. Now, Rebecca would have gone searching for her herself, however Zeke, the informal leader of the squad, vetoed this idea. So Rebecca essentially is unable to look for her herself. The interesting part about her disappearance is Chrissy is described to be very responsible, so it is unlike her to just wander off or run away, which really leads to alarm bells ringing in Rebecca's mind. This does also paint Zeke in a bad light, however he is not actually a bad person. His behaviour is due to his fears of Darian. Darian is the leader of the new Khans, being the son of Jarl Deathhand from the first game. This makes him a descendant of the Dwellers of Vault 15 that left due to the Schism. He is one of the few that survived the Vault Dweller from Vault 13's attack on the Khans and led to the formation of a new raider tribe. Darian did this mainly out of hate, revenge, and fear. He spent 80 years building his gang back up. This is due to him being riddled with survivor's guilt for hiding when the Vault Dweller from Vault 13 rescues Tandy and kills off all the other Khans. This is also why he has a lot of hatred directed towards the New California Republic, which Tandy is president of. He blames her for all of the misfortunes in his life, from the death of his father to anything as small as just stubbing his toe, even though his father was the one who kidnapped Tandy in the first place. His hiring of mercenaries to replace the old Khan gang allowed him to become strong enough to eventually occupy Vault 15 without the suspicion of the NCR. However, even with his success at doing this, it did nothing to fix any of Darian's issues. He was still filled with hatred, fear, paranoia, and a desire for revenge. We can tell this from an interaction with the doctor that Darian had captured to take care of him, to try and prolong his life to succeed in his goal for revenge against Tandy. Now he is paranoid. He believes that Tandy is out to get him. He is obsessed with revenge and wants Tandy dead. He's riddled with guilt because he hid and he lived, rather than dying with his gang. Darian was scared that the Vault Dweller from Vault 13 would come and kill him, and although the original did not, his descendant did, denying him his desire for revenge because of the actions of Darian's father, Jarl Deathhand, most specifically the kidnapping of Tandy from Aradesh and Shady Sands, another descendant from Vault 15. It sets off a chain of events that affects the already shaky ownership of Vault 15 and has some interesting implications for the lore and world of Fallout. Obviously, with the rescue mission of Tandy, it leads to the wiping out of the Can gang, the prospering of Shady Sands that also results in the joining of several towns and cities in the area to turn it into the powerhouse we know as the New California Republic. Due to Darian hiding from certain death and taking the next 80 years to re-establish himself and recruit mercenaries, he was able to secretly take over Vault 15, using the squat as a cover for his gang. By providing for the squat, he was able to hide from the NCR whilst being paranoid about them coming to kill him. Due to the NCR desiring technology from the Vault and also the Vault 15 itself, the Chosen One uncovers the secret band of raiders. This leads to Darian's paranoid nightmare somewhat coming true. The descendant of the original protagonist kills him. The squat then aligns with the NCR and works with them. Now that you know the history of Vault 15, let me know in the comments who you think rightfully owns Vault 15. If you like this video, you'll probably enjoy this video. It is about the super mutants in the first Fallout game.